This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Sunday, May 19th, 2024, although don't tell Kane, right? Don't tell Kane what day it is. If you remember that storyline from, my God, what was it, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And it ironically coincides with the day that I lost my, and was banned from with no explanation from Twitter 4 years ago today. R.I.P. my old Twitter account, which had 40,000 plus followers. It was under the WWE Podcast, and maybe that's why they actually banned it, but they never told me. But RIP to that account, and on to more important things, guys, as we truck into the PLE weekend in just 6 days. We've got a lot to discuss this week, as I can't believe it's already a PLE week. Like, how did that happen? I don't know. But here it is, and we've got a lot to talk about as Saudi Arabia is 6 days away, the beloved Saudi Arabia, but SmackDown will also be in Saudi Arabia next week, so that is something that you can either look forward to or not. But I feel like the Saudi crowds have softened over the years, especially when they compare it to like Puerto Rico or, Lyon, France, as we just saw. And the mystique of going to Saudi Arabia is gone. The crowd seems to care less about doesn't seem to care less, or could care less, I'll get it right, about the women's matches. And ironically, I don't know if this is by design or a happy accident, but in the country that just a few years ago didn't allow women to wrestle in front of crowds, and we're all supposed to just be so proud of the country for being behind the times about 200 years. We're all supposed to just applaud that for some reason. We are now ironically going to crown the first Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia. I don't want to hear about the Queen's crown that they for whatever reason didn't have the guts to call it that a few years ago when Vince was still in charge. And now we have a real Queen of the Ring tournament, and it's going to be concluded along with the men's at the event in Saudi Arabia. So, hey, again, I don't know if it's by accident or not, but all right. Well, predictions coming this week, mailbags coming this week, all your typical Raw reviews and SmackDown reviews are going to be coming as well. So stay tuned for that. The NXT review as well is coming to you this week, and we've got a lot of wall-to-wall coverage of wrestling nearly every day. We'll have a podcast, if not a throwback. We're going to try tomorrow night for Anthony and I to finally reunite. It's been a few weeks. My schedule's been crazy. His has been as well. I am dead dog tired. I'm sure he is too. And that's really what it is why we haven't been able to link up, along with other co-hosts that we were supposed to link up all over the last several weeks. And it's just, I've just mentioned this before. It's been crazy. It's been really impossible for me to find a time that makes sense for people, and it's not super late at night. But anyway, we'll be trying to reunite tomorrow for your brand new current state of WWE that'll be coming your way. So look out for that. If not, in the worst case scenario, we'll just do a fun wrestling nostalgia throwback. So you get something tomorrow night. But this week in WWE, it was all about King and Queen of the Ring tournament matches. From top to bottom, front to back, it was all about King and Queen of the Ring tournament matches, and this has been one of the most long-form tournaments that I've seen, and maybe it also feels a little extra long because there are two tournaments going on simultaneously. And again, not a complaint necessarily, just not used to this format, but I'm sure if you're creative in WWE these past several weeks, you've been loving this because there's not a lot of fluff to be had. You just book the matches, book the finishes, and the wrestlers do the rest and have long form matches. For the most part, they haven't been super short. So, I mean, it's been great if you're creative. You kind of get a bit of a break from WrestleMania. And it's all been just, hey, we're just going to have a ton of wrestling, and you guys do the rest of the work. We'll tell you who's going to win, but you do the rest of it. And if you're creative, you've loved the last several weeks, I would imagine. But it then comes down to who is going to face who in the finals. And again, we'll break down the predictions as we get closer. I would imagine as we get towards the men's side of things, it could easily be, because we have Gunther and Jey Uso on one side, we have Randy and Tama Tonga on the other. Does it not make sense for Jey and Tama Tonga to go head to head? Just Gunther and Randy, no. Gunther and Tama Tonga, two heels, no. Jey and Randy, no. Two baby faces. Does it not have to be Jey and Tama Tonga? It's got to be. So it's the best for storyline purposes to move the bloodline forward. Tama Tonga is likely going to win King of the Ring. He's my early pick right now. That's subject to change, but that seems to be where they're headed. And on the women's side of things, they avoided the Jade Bianca match. They mentioned the possibility of it in passing this week, with Jade and Bianca lightheartedly suggesting that they could see each other next week, and Jade saying, well, let's take this one match at a time, and had her match with Nia this past week and got herself disqualified with a chair shot that Nia originally tried to hit on Jade, and Jade countered and then hit Nia with the chair, getting herself disqualified. And then they went on a crazy brawl. Jade got busted open, I think on the cheekbone. She got, I don't know, some kind of laceration, and Jade actually started bleeding, which was unexpected. But I really enjoyed it. It seems to be people are a little bit down on Jade, and you know what? I was as well for a period of time, because it seemed like she was all sizzle and no steak, as they say, meaning all show and no substance. But I enjoyed her tag team match at Backlash more than most, and her getting more in-ring minutes one-on-one is going to help. Now, this past week, she didn't do a ton with Nia Jax. It wasn't exactly a 20-minute classic, but it served its purpose of not really being about the number of moves this time, more about showing the side of brutality, side of like rough and tough. She's not just for show that, she can swing with the best of them and take a bump and keep on ticking. And she showed that. And the brawl with her and Nia, the crowd seemed to get into too. And I really think there could be something here where Jade and Nia continue their program. So we'll have to see where that leads. But let's get into a little bit more of SmackDown here, as we got some pretty good matches. Again, it's a very wrestling heavy show. If you watch pro wrestling for the fluff and the entertainment factor and the backstage segments and the promos and the 20-minute promos to open the show, these past several weeks, it must be torture for you, because it's just match after match after match. And it's been just very wrestling heavy. I know that sounds like a complaint with the tone of my voice, but it's not. So, I mean, I do like myself a good old-fashioned drama storyline with great promos, but there has been, now this sounds a bit overdramatic, but this is probably true. The last, say, 3 weeks of pro wrestling, if you combined the men and women overall, if there's 3 weeks, that's what, 6 shows of Raw and SmackDown total. You take all the wrestling, the number of minutes from bell to bell, I would bet, this may be a conservative estimate too, that those number of minutes exceeds any point at which Vince McMahon was under the regime in pro wrestling in like a 6-month span. Oh, let me say this. Since the 90s, Vince McMahon, likely, I'd say like the late 90s, in a 6-month span, there has been more wrestling in a 3-week span combined than in a I'm sorry, a 3-month span with Vince. There was a 3-week span here, 3-month span with Vince. I said that very sloppily, but what I'm trying to convey is there has been more wrestling in 3 weeks collectively than it's since Vince McMahon's big boom regime in the late 90s during the Attitude Era to now, any 3-month span. It sounds a little bit overdramatic. I didn't say it the best, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Just in the last 3 weeks, it feels like there's been so much wrestling. And so, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But, I mean, no one's going to verify that. It's nearly impossible to verify because no one's going to go back and do the research on that. It'd be an incredible amount of work. But it just sounds like it'd be right. So I'll go with something that's unfalsifiable where no one can really prove me wrong. And no one's got the time or the effort or the willpower to prove me wrong. How about that? I'm getting weak. All right. Let's continue. So we got Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair opening in a Queen of the Ring tournament match. You know, Tiffany Stratton continues to show she can hang. And not even that. She continues to feel like she just belongs right off the bat, where there's sometimes an adjustment period for NXT talent coming up. Tiffany feels like she just has belonged and belongs since she first debuted on the main roster. And there continues to be Tiffy chants. There were EST chants. The crowd was generally behind Bianca. They weren't really booing anyone. It was just who they were cheering for more. And you know, I did expect Tiffany to actually win this. And the reason I thought Tiffany would win this is so that you could have Tiffany continue to look strong, get deep into a tournament, and you would avoid the Jade and Bianca match for now. But they took care of that with Jade getting herself disqualified. So, you know, no harm, no foul here, but it, to me, would have made more sense if Jade continued and Tiffany did as well, because Bianca doesn't need this win at all. I mean, this did nothing for her. Not that the match wasn't good. It was. In fact, there was some very convincing near falls, some convincing roll-ups. It was a 13-minute match, which in a women's wrestling world is, you know, sometimes 4 matches combined in total time. And it was a lot of fun, I have to say. I mean, Tiffany is a smooth in-ring wrestler. She is just, she gets it. She has the crowd. She's got the look. Tiffany's poised in the next, I would say, year to maybe be a women's champion. Maybe in the next year. I think it's a fair, it's a fair prediction. And it ended up with having Bianca Belair get the victory with the KOD. Now, the best or the most convincing spot to me was the poke to the eyes, which, or a thumb to the eye and then hitting a running clothesline. That was a very convincing near fall because the crowd, you heard, reacted and they were waiting for that moment where Tiffany was going to do something to get the advantage, and it happened, and you're thinking, okay, that's it. And it didn't. And we had Bianca get the victory clean. And, you know, to Bianca's credit, her character is kind of, I think it's a little bit where Becky Lynch is, where it needs a kick in the ass. I'm not saying, turn her heel for sure, although I do want a Bianca heel turn. I'm still in that boat. I don't know what the solution is outside of a heel turn, which seems just like a lazy, easy fix, which sometimes doesn't fix anything. And I feel like she's a little bit stale like Becky. Becky's much more stale. You know, her expiration date was 4 years ago, where Bianca's was like, you know, a year ago, and you're like, well, is this still good? If I open this box of cereal, is it going to be stale? You know? And you know what? Bianca is so damn good in the ring. I would argue she's better than Becky in the ring. Athletically, she is, to me, far and away the top female in the entire company. But Bianca, to her credit, also sold her knee injury very well. Very well. I did enjoy that. I could get over the whole, I'm the roughest, I'm the toughest, I'm the best, I'm the EST. Okay, every word that ends in EST or has an EST in it, can we move on from those? I don't know. I know it's her gimmick, but there's a lot of things I would change with her. The skipping to the ring and acting like a 12-year-old girl. There's so much to her character that you could get out of. There's much more we haven't even seen yet. It's waiting. I think if you're going to turn someone heel, I would actually turn Bianca heel. I really would. Bianca be the one I'd turn heel. Because if you were going to put Becky or her and it had to be only one, I would say Jade versus a heel Bianca would be much more fun. But again, a lot more bridges to cross before we get to that particular bridge. And moving on, we have Solo claiming that he has spoken to Roman Reigns. And that was footage from last week. And then we got LA Knight's interview by Kathy Kelly. And he said he would introduce Tommy Tonga to a BFT and move on. And then Carmelo Hayes approached and they got into a bit of a spat. And again, a lot of kind of future matchups we haven't seen yet, which is fun. And LA Knight versus Tama Tonga was a King of the Ring tournament match. I keep wanting to say qualifier, but they've already qualified if they're in the tournament. So here's where things get fun too. Now, this was an 8 minute and 43-minute match. And it ended with having Tama Tonga beat LA Knight. There were "We Want Roman" chants as Tama Tonga was I think it was about mid-match. And I have to say LA Knight feels like he's back on track for a larger push. Does that mean a push to the top to get the belt off of Cody? No. Probably not. And I wouldn't even say probably. I would say most likely not. But at least he's back on the mic, getting us promos that we love so much with LA Knight. In the ring, he's very sound. He understands ring psychology. He feels like a veteran, and I think a lot of that has to do with his age. I think he's pushing 40. So, he's not exactly a spring chicken, and that maturity, that age just kind of automatically gives him some credibility. Even if you don't know a whole lot about him, he just looks a little older than the rest of the roster. And again, that's not a bad thing. I think for him, it's an asset he's using very well. And so, again, the Bloodline wins, Tama Tonga wins, and the build and the groundswell for a Roman return is just continuing to build. And I think we've got another month, 2 months. I still believe it's going to be at Money in the Bank or shortly thereafter, where we see Roman Reigns return. Or as far as SummerSlam, I think SummerSlam is the farthest it would go until we see a Roman Reigns return. I don't think they're going to go any further than SummerSlam. In fact, again, I would say it would be a few weeks before SummerSlam to set up some kind of match, with The Rock on one side and maybe Roman on the other, or they don't go that road yet until Survivor Series. But the big game players, the big time guys, are just a couple months away from returning. And then things get even more fun. So while it does seem like it is, we're really in kind of the downslide of wrestling after post-Mania, and I would agree we are. The King of the Ring tournament is keeping things structured. You're seeing the groundwork being laid for these big returns that are coming up down the line, right? The Rock, Roman, most prominently, maybe a Brock Lesnar return for Gunther down the line. You're seeing things being laid is what it is. And this foundational work, while it's not always the most interesting and star power driven, it's necessary. It's key so that the fun, big moments they're planning later make sense and are actually executed in a way that is by design. So, okay. So we got a Cody and Logan Paul contract signing. Cody played to the crowd and he talks like this. So, Milwaukee. I mean, it's just, it's almost like he's trying to just be the most pandering, obnoxious, pretentious a-hole, yet the crowd continues to support him. They're all just blinded. I'm befuddled. The way he cuts his promo is irritating me more than normal. His demeanor, his constant smiling, his self-awareness that's very clear on camera. it's almost, here's what it feels like, guys. To try to describe it to somebody that's a Cody fan that hates when I complain about Cody. It's like Cody, and I'm sure wrestlers do this, but I don't want to feel like they do this, is after the show, he watches his promos over and over and over and over. So he's so self-aware of every movement he makes with his face or with his eyes or with his hands or any part of his body, any extremity. It feels as if he does an excessive amount of repeat watching of himself so that when he actually delivers it live, it feels like he's playing out how he looks in his mind on camera. Does that make sense? He's just too self-aware. I don't know how else I can put it. And again, you may say, well, of course they should watch their stuff back. And yeah, I would think that it's fine. It's healthy. I think to rewatch your work, right? You want to improve. You want to see what you did right, did wrong, what looked bad, what looked good. And that's all fine. I just don't want to feel like when you're on camera that's what you're doing, is you're being so self-aware that you know what I'm saying? So Mr. he talks like just his whole demeanor, his whole promo style, his constant smiling. And when he brought up the 1992 War Games, which I got to be honest, and most of us I think are in this camp because we're younger fans, other than those of you who are going to probably say to me, oh, I remember that. Yeah, how do you not know? I've never heard of that War Games match in my life. Never. Okay. Why? Well, for one, I was 7 years old. Okay. I wasn't watching wrestling at 7. And I'm not one to go back, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think watching wrestling from a historical perspective is a lot of fun, and you can actually learn things that you can apply today. Absolutely. But I'm not one to go back and watch those old matches. I just don't have the time. But, I thought for sure, my point about this was I thought I would have bet my life that Cody was out there, and when he was mentioning that part, he was going to talk about his dad and how, when my dad was in that match, you know what he did? He showed heart. He showed guts. He showed, he goes off on his weird, obnoxious kind of cadence to his promo. And I thought for sure, but he didn't. He just brought it up and, which was fine. He said that the reason he knows all of this is because, much like the people in the crowd, he's a fan of professional wrestling. Okay, Cody, again, I know you're trying to be like us. I know you're trying to be one of the guys, one of the fans. We're all just buddies. We're well, he's just one of us. And, first of all, again, if you polled and forced people to tell the truth, if they knew anything about War Games 1992, there would be a 5% to 10% maximum capacity of those that knew about the match or knew of it or have heard of the match. I bet you anything. And it's so when he's saying, oh, much like the people in the crowd, he's just, hey, if you're not a fan of what you do, you shouldn't do it, Cody. Duh. Anyone, even if you're a bad guy on the roster, if you're not a fan of what you're doing, you wouldn't be doing it. So he's just, oh my God. It's getting worse for me, guys. It's getting worse. But I'm trying to give those of you who hate me, or because I know there's a lot of you out there. Well, there's a part of the audience out there that hates when I complain about Cody, and that's all I do, and I need to move on. First of all, I've taken quite a break from complaining about Cody post-Mania. There's a few week gap there because he wasn't on TV a ton, and I think generally his title run thus far has been a little bit boring. So there's that. That's another discussion for another day. But someone I think actually let me read this to you. A little off track, but it's fun. Someone, I don't know who these people are because I can't I can't actually respond, and these people don't have the guts to come on the show. Someone on Apple wrote this as a review for my show. The subject of the review is Cretin. And this guy says, quote, "This guy is the most pompous, pretentious, poorly informed goon in podcasting. This is his sole success." Wow. It's hilarious to me. I don't think this guy, assuming it's a guy, understands the irony of his statement, or really his complete contrasting of arguments in this one sentence. If I'm so pompous, pretentious, and poorly informed, how would I have success in this field? It'd be pretty difficult to do, no? If I'm so poorly informed, the show sucks so bad. Pretty tough, right? I mean, that's all you need to know about these kinds of people. And trust me, I actually, this does not bother me in the least. I love, in a way, like when people leave these negative reviews, which is fine. By all means, leave whatever you feel about the show. I'm not asking people to, I'm not on my knees begging people to give me a 5-star review. You do what you do. But at least come up with a cohesive, just grammatically correct argument, at least to why the show sucks. Somebody from, I think it's some guy from Great Britain. That's who it is. But anyway. Okay. So Cody goes on, and then Logan Paul. God, I really am enjoying his work lately. He replied that he heard from the last guy. Oh, because Cody called him a tourist. And right now he said that Logan's going to get off the bus, so to speak, and become a Grand Slam champion. He wants to be. And Logan replied that he heard that from the last guy and the guy before that, and he didn't come to listen to Cody talk. He came to sign a contract. The crowd was really booing Logan Paul here, and he tore up the contract that was originally out there and said he got his lawyer to drop another one, which just put Cody's title on the line, not his own. And Nick Aldis was infuriated about this. Got a big reaction, actually. Nick Aldis got a lot of support from the crowd here. And Cody told Logan that he's a human hat rack. I don't know where he heard that. I don't know, maybe from one of his many books that he reads. Who knows? He said he's seen him do a flip. Big deal. Cody mentioned Mike Tyson and said he would knock out Jake Paul in just 8 days, and in Saudi Arabia, he would defeat him. He then signed the contract, and Paul tried to attack Rhodes and was dumped to the floor, and then Cody powerbombed one of Paul's entourage through the table, and the crowd cheered. So, I mean, it's a fine segment. Again, for all my complaining about Cody Rhodes that I have just resurrected, if you like Cody, you like this segment, and it's a well-constructed segment. I can still say that, even if I don't like his character. It's a well-constructed segment, effective. It's, we haven't seen someone go through a table in a little while at a contract signing, and that was fun. So, Logan Paul continues to do his brilliance and really just slip into his character now, really starting to understand who and what Logan Paul is. He doesn't seem like he's a fish out of water anymore on the mic. He's just adapted like a fish to water, and it has been just so much fun to watch. And having Cody only have to put up his belt, but Cody, again, voluntarily doing this. So I don't want to hear. Here's the thing. Like, Cody is complaining about what Logan Paul did. And then Logan is saying it's executed. Well, first of all, your contract isn't executed until both parties sign. So that was a bit of a slippage of accuracy. So it's not a done deal. It's not executed until both parties sign. However, Cody still voluntarily signed Logan Paul's contract. That's just a stupid thing to do if you're a babyface, and then you complain about the match. If I hear a complaint from Cody Rhodes about this match, can we all just look at this and say, does anyone understand the logic of this? Like, can we just look at this and say, hey, Cody, you signed the contract voluntarily. I understand Logan Paul ripped up the original. I get it. He did. Logan Paul did rip up the original and try to, slide a fast one by you. But nothing's executed until you voluntarily, boy, is that the key word, sign the contract. So this is also on you who's agreeing to this, Cody. Now, is it the right move, though? Yes. I have no issue with this being the match. The United States title should not be on the line. As I've mentioned before, why? Cody does not need to be U.S. champion. Logan Paul is doing a brilliant job with the U.S. title. This makes total sense. Also, Logan Paul ain't winning the WWE Universal title yet. It's still probably a year or two away from him holding it. And so this to me was that's the right match to have. It's the right match to have. Really fun. Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes seem to have some nice chemistry here. So Jade Cargill and Nia Jax. This was a quick match, 2.5 minutes. As I mentioned, Nia Jax beat Jade Cargill because Nia was attacked with a chair and the ref had no choice. As I mentioned, then there was a brawl that was a lot of fun. And then DIY came out taking on Legado del Fantasma with Theory and Waller at ringside, which, I kind of forgot about them, I have to say. Did anyone else? I had forgotten that they were tag team champions. At least in the broad sense of the show. I wasn't thinking, oh my God, wait, we haven't seen Theory and Waller yet. It just feels like they haven't been in a prominent position at all since WrestleMania. But that can change quickly. And a decent match. Trash talking. Theory and Waller on ringside commentary should be a weekly thing. I really enjoy them. And let's see. Oh, DIY did beat Legado del Fantasma. I was trying to find out the time. It's just under 8 minutes. And then DIY trash talk Waller and Theory in the apron, and Graves and Barrett brought attention to the QR codes that have been flashing on the screen for weeks. And yeah, so it's interesting too that Corey Graves mentioned, hey, the last time we saw the QR codes, we know what happened there. Why would he say that? Kind of weird. I know he's referencing Bray Wyatt and the White Rabbit and everything else that led up to Bray Wyatt's return. I get that, but I don't understand. Why would you bring up a guy that just died, recently and was beloved? I don't know. It felt a little weird that he mentioned it. I don't know how, if I'm negative or positive on it, just kind of a little taken back by it, where it's just like, yeah, Corey, we get it. I don't know. I don't know. It was weird. It felt like the announcers should be dumber than they are in that moment, where they should always just be the most, the lowest IQ, or the maybe not lowest IQ, because they are very good at what they do. In their job, they should be the worst detectives in the history of detectives, because they are always clueless. They don't know. Everything is in the moment. Everything's the greatest or the worst. They're just all over with no cohesive idea of what something could be. And I know they can't, because it's, you don't want to spoil the plans. Does that make sense? You're never looking to the announcers to give you updates on things. Ooh, wait a minute. What's their idea? What's their idea of who this could be? They always choose the dumbest choice, right? Jerry Lawler was famous for that. They'll choose somebody off the wall to win a match or tournament. This is the guy to watch. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not, right? And so it just felt a little weird for Corey to mention that. I'm not mad about it. It just felt weird. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to, let's see. Oh, well, DIY defeating Legado del Fantasma, as I said, and they'll face the tag team champions. Of course, I don't think they have really real chance of beating Theory and Waller, who I feel like are just getting going, but they are a wrestling tag team, a pure wrestling tag team. And it'll be a really good match, as we just know that, at least, even if DIY has the collective personality of the desk in front of me, at least on camera, right? They may be really entertaining backstage, even as real human beings, but I'm serious. The microphone that I'm talking into has more of a personality on camera than they do, which is going to be a hindrance to them, no doubt. Alrighty, well, let's get on to Bayley backstage. She was interviewed and asked about the tournament. Now that Cargill was eliminated, she said Nia and Bianca were both strong challengers, and she was interrupted by Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, and it set up a match between Chelsea and Bayley, and that'll be, I think that's taking place next week in Saudi. We'll see. I believe it is. All right, Carmelo Hayes and Randy Orton, main event, King of the Ring tournament match. Fun. Melo has been kind of playing the heel baby face in between. I think he's a baby face-ish, but like against Randy, you're going to be a heel. Fun. Nearly 11 minutes. You knew that this RKO, whatever and however he was going to hit it was going to be extreme, and this one was. It happened after Melo went for a springboard, and then an RKO was hit. Randy, 1, 2, 3. Let me ask this too, guys, before I get to the ending with the Bloodline and Randy. When's the last time anybody kicked out of an RKO? I feel like it's been forever. And actually a finish that was and has never to this day still been kicked out of? The RKO, I think, has. I'm sure. And the first one that comes to mind is The Undertaker, I think, at WrestleMania 21 between Randy and The Undertaker. I think we had Undertaker kick out of the RKO there from the choke slam into the RKO. But it doesn't happen, and it hasn't happened very often, okay? So that's very much a protected finish. But the trivia question of what finish in the WWE right now has never been kicked out of ever, and I only learned this because of Chris Van Vliet's podcast, shout out to him, he does a great job, is Oblivion from Liv Morgan. Never been kicked out of. Never. And that's kind of wild when you think about it. So, there. Fun fact for the day. The more you know. Okay, let's go to, again, this match at the end with Randy Orton getting the victory after the RKO. We have then the Bloodline come out, and Randy Orton went, he just took it to them. On the microphone, saying, that, you know who I am, I'm Randy freaking Orton. He's sweaty, he's spitting, he's, post-match, he's angry, saying, you think you're going to come out here and intimidate me, and threatening Tama Tonga for next week as Solo Sikoa looks on. And the match should be a lot of fun. I really expect Randy to lose there. There's no reason for him to be put in the finals against who? Gunther? I guess you could, but I don't know who's going to benefit there. The most interesting match is Jey and Tama Tonga by a long shot. Now, Randy has more star power. Gunther has a lot of cachet. He has done more for the Intercontinental title than maybe anyone in recent memory. And there's definitely a potential matchup there between Randy and Gunther, no doubt. But Tama Tonga and Jey, yeah. Now, the other interesting piece of this, we are already getting a brand split crossover. Because if it's Jey, really anybody, whoever wins, right, I think is going to be a brand split violation. Now it's a tournament. It's by design. It isn't just random with no explanation. However, just wanted to point that out. That we now officially, as of, King of the Ring on Saturday, that they are going to violate the brand split rules. So, no one cares except me. Now, we also have got news coming out that the PLEs may be going back to Sundays. I think I might have mentioned this before. If they're going back to Sundays, I don't love it, but I also don't hate it. We dealt with Sunday pay-per-views as wrestling fans, unless you're new. For how many decades did we have a Sunday PLE pay-per-view? Forever. So we're kind of used to it. I don't think going back to it would, blow up the universe. So I think it's fine if they do that, if they have to do it. I have no issue with it. But that's the rumor right now, guys. All right, let's quickly roll over Raw as we close it out here. And on Monday Night Raw, so I can get my internet to work. We have, I was expecting a ton of King and Queen of the Ring stuff. We got Kofi Kingston and Gunther, which, they were shown arriving at the building. And then we finally get Io Sky versus Shayna Baszler in a Queen of the Ring tournament match. And Io Sky beats Shayna in 10 minutes. I really enjoyed that match. Man, I remember I talked about that on my Raw review. Really enjoyed that. Io Sky is just brilliant in the ring, and Shayna is no slouch either. We then got Lillian Garcia introducing the next match, which was Gunther and Kofi Kingston in a King of the Ring quarterfinal match. This was a fun match as well. 14 minutes with Gunther beating Kofi. We got Bronson Reed versus Akira Tozawa in the traditional 1 minute Akira Tozawa loss match, which Bronson Reed beat Akira in 1 minute and 15 seconds. We got Lyra Valkyria versus Zoe Stark, which ended with Lyra beating Zoe Stark in 9 minutes to advance. We got Sami Zayn defeating Otis in 2 minutes in a non-title match. And let's see here. We got Becky Lynch versus Dakota Kai, with Becky Lynch beating Dakota Kai by DQ in 10 minutes in a non-title match. And then we have a tag team match here with Balor, McDonough versus Julius Creed, the Creed brothers versus New Catch Republic versus Akam and Razor. Fatal 4-way. Winner gets a shot at the World Tag Team titles. And it is a 11-minute match with, Finn Balor and JD winning it to get themselves a title shot against R-Truth and The Miz. So let's see. Then we get the this is the main event. The seventh match of the night. Jey Uso versus Ilya Dragunov in a King of the Ring quarterfinal match, where Jey beats Dragunov in 13 minutes and 15 seconds to advance. And again, tons of in-ring action. Not a whole lot of, no big surprise returns. We're post-Mania now, and as I've said, it's going to be a couple months, and then we'll be right back to ramping up returns, ramping up big storylines that'll roll right into WrestleMania 41. We are getting closer. So those of you that are kind of bored with pro wrestling right now, bored with WWE, especially after Mania and all the star power that's gone away due to injury or just due to design, right? It's coming back, and it's going to come back in a big way as we crawl closer and closer to Money in the Bank and really SummerSlam. And yes, I understand there is a Scotland, right? You're having your PLE in Scotland in June. I understand that, and it'll be fun there too, especially with Drew. There's a return of Punk right around the corner. Drew has been nothing short of brilliant. He's been, I think, one of the MVPs of the company over the last few months, even especially pre-Mania. Post-Mania, he continues to thrive, and Punk will just add to the whole deal when he comes back. And we've mentioned all the other returns that are just looming out there with The Rock and Roman. I gave you a comprehensive list of all of the men and women that are injured. It's pretty extensive. Rhea Ripley is still out there. Brock obviously is not injured, but he's still floating out there. So it gets better. Charlotte has got to be close to a return if you care about such things. So, there's a lot to look forward to, guys. The roster, you think it's fun now, just wait a couple months. If you're a little bit bored, a little bit kind of, this is okay, it's going to change. It's going to change. But this is still a good time to be a wrestling fan. It's giving new talent time to also thrive, which is fun. So that'll do it for me tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the weekend review. And if you like me, give a 5-star rating. If you don't, give me a 1-star rating. Tell me what you really think. I can handle it. I'm a big boy. If not, consider going VIP on Patreon, patreon.com/WWE podcast. There's a 7-day free trial if you want to just try us before you commit. If you do, it's just, to get in the door, it's $1 a month, but there's obviously higher tiers that gets you more stuff. And then you can go to Apple Podcasts too and subscribe there for a 7-day free trial and get everything ad-free as well. And our exclusive After Dark show with Anthony DeMarco, who just did a coverage of WrestleMania 22. His review of WrestleMania 22 is exclusive for those on the SmackDown tier and higher this week. I'd really encourage you to go check that out if you want to go ad-free and get rid of all the ads you heard throughout the show if you're not on Patreon already. Okay, thanks everybody for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.